All right, we're live. Good evening. I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and this is The Secrets, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm joined by my co-host, Ms. G. Georgette Truen, by my other co-host, Miss Cassandra Woodard. Good evening, ladies. How are you guys?
Good, thank you.
All right, and we have some very special guests tonight.
Returning guest, Mr. Davis.
Yes, returning
Yes.
guests, Rob and Michelle. How are you folks doing this evening?
Pretty good.
Very well, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming back. I guess you
yeah.
enjoyed the last time you were here.
Yes, very much so.
I did went and asked call the courts to get the paperwork you've asked us to do, and they told us we had to hire an attorney.
Somebody to get the transcripts. And I said, we can't just come down and pay for the transcripts. And they informed us that they don't have them. And I felt like that was just getting a runaround.
Really. What state are you in?
Huh?
What state are you in?
Well, we're in Hannibal, New York, but it's by code
New York State.
So you both have attorneys. Have you talked to your attorneys about getting the records of your case?
Well, I have the attorney. They kicked him out for all paperwork of my daughter. He's not really involved in the case anymore.
Have you talked to your attorney, ma'am?
Yes. I did talk to the appellate court yesterday.
Yeah.
And I do got appeal coming in, but I had to call my attorney and tell her to file for a motion something because I don't have the money to hire a lawyer. So they're gonna she has to file a motion for them to give me a
court appointed one.
Yeah. But there is coming one up and they're booked till February. But the thing that I called and I don't understand is family court just called me 2 days ago, Monday, and told me that my February 2nd that's coming up this year, it's for court for terminating my rights and placement for our daughter. Well, I yelled at them. I'm like, so if that's the case, then what was July 19th for when you guys removed my terminal rights? So if I have court in February, why can't I see my daughter this whole time? So it's basically a circle going around. So they're telling me they terminate my rights, but if I go February 2nd to terminate my rights, then this whole time I'm not able to see my daughter if they didn't terminate my rights.
Well, your rights haven't been terminated yet, correct?
Yeah, I called family court. They said they did. My rights have been terminated. So then she told me, well, you got another court date February 2nd for your rights and placement for your daughter. So why would I have to go again to terminate my rights the second time in court if they already did?
That doesn't make sense to me either. Have you talked to your lawyer about it?
Yeah, she says, well, she had nothing to do with it. She did the appeal, so it's out of her hands.
Did you have an appellate lawyer?
Well,
we're waiting on them to get back to us now with the lawyer.
Okay, well, ma'am, you got to go talk to somebody, a lawyer, and find out what's going on in your case because you're getting conflicting stories.
Yeah, and that's right.
They said June, was it June 19th?
July 19th.
July 19th.
This couple months ago.
When she was supposed to go to court. And all they wanted her to go to appear for was to sign off her rights. And she is refusing to never. I mean, how do you sign off on a child? I don't understand that. I just don't understand how you do that as a parent. So, she says, absolutely not. Am I giving up? I will never give up until I die. I mean, that's what parents are supposed to do.
But we did go through a box and we got,
I went through.
We got a stack of all the paperwork
all the way back to 2018. And it went to, she was going through it this afternoon, and a lot of it is I don't see. They assumed, they admitted that in the transcripts. They assumed me and my wife were not home. The babysitter that was here, she collects Social Security for a nervous condition. So when you're confronted by two strange men,
No, it's 3 caseworkers.
Excuse me, 3 caseworkers that she don't even know, and she's babysitting somebody else's child, she's naturally going to be nervous. And in her arms, move whatever. And the caseworker assumed she was high. And her lawyer asked him, well, how do you know that? Do you have evidence?
Yeah.
Do you have urine screen? Do you have blood sample? Have you taken her to the doctor or something? Some kind of evidence. He said, well, I assumed. Well, that's what they based removing my child on. And I said, at that point, I said, well, thank God he didn't assume we killed somebody. Because then we'd be in prison for life and then you could do about it.
Well, that day when they said that the babysitter were under influence, they called us. So I picked up the phone and I called. He said, you need to come back. Where are you? We're like, by Pulaski.
Yeah, we're just a little ways away. Well, not very far. I mean, we turned around and come back.
I did tell him I was coming back. I said, well, we'll come back and get our daughter. We don't want. By the time we came back, he's like, well, you're not taking your daughter. I'm like, what do you mean?
We did the right thing. We got a babysitter because we didn't think taking our child with us where we were going was appropriate. We don't want people walking around with beer and stuff around my child.
He
so
said
we got a
that
babysitter where we were going.
He said we did poor decision.
And I don't understand.
Because we made a poor decision. They took our daughter away. I'm like, well, the whole reason was the phone call was to come back and get her because we're, clean sober. And, I mean, they just basically kidnapped her. Like,
and then we come back together. They wouldn't let us take her. And I just don't understand how they have the right to do that. And then,
we talked to Nancy.
We talked to the supervised visitation. Now, let's just say we were high and they did remove my child from me being under the influence. Now, fast forward to you finally get through the court and all get run through the ground and you get to see your child again. They let us see our child. Now, does that constitute a 1.5 years supervised visits?
I mean, from a fairness standpoint?
Exactly. I mean, for 1.5 years, we have been supervised because they assumed we left our child with a babysitter that was under the influence at that point. And I said, that's wrong. Why? Why is my child not even back in the house yet? I mean, 1.5 years later, in that 1.5 years, she's been physically abused, mentally abused, put under so much stress. Our family alone, it is just they've taken time that we can never get back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got
because they assume.
We did talk to a couple lawyers during this week, and they did say we do have a lawsuit, but
and Nancy, she was the one at the supervised visits. We
can't say that.
Sorry, no names. So anyway, I talked to her about it, and she started laughing. She was like, "Oh my God, how are you guys doing?" I mean, they loved us there. We were there for 1.5 years, almost 2 years, 3 times a week. I mean, we really got to know this woman, and everything was documented. Everything that was said, everything that was done was documented at everything there, and that was her job.
Hold on a second. Hold on, Georgette. Did you have something that you wanted to say?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Last time you guys were on the show, Davis told you that you had a good civil lawsuit based on what you're telling us. Did you contact the civil attorney in your state?
Well, I didn't want a lawyer from where we're from right here. Because they're all puppets.
The who's, right?
They do. They're puppets. Yeah. They do whatever the judge says, and they all have their own concoction before you even get in front of them.
Right. But based on what Davis said last show, that he wishes you were in LA, he could have, taken the case on for
Well,
you.
what
he
would
was-
it take to have Davis come
Well-
to New York for a while?
They-
Because,
Wait. I'd love to come to New York. Who's going to pay that plane flight?
you don't want to come right now. We got 2 inches of snow today.
yeah, we're starting to get snow now.
Snowing out right now like crazy.
And then, of course, there's the hotel and the Uber, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
We have talked about moving out of state. We've been talking about you, and he said, "Well, why don't we move somewhere close?" And I mean, we could still fight it out of state. But my only thing is, if I leave out of state, I feel like I left her behind, and it's just
right.
Can they come to? I have a question, Attorney Davis. Can they come to LA if they move down to LA? Can they still fight the case in the other state? Or
Yeah,
no?
they can.
From here?
They can, but it's very difficult, right?
Mhm.
Because the lawsuit will be in New York. They'll be here.
Well, eventually,
there's those transaction costs, and they're real. About
I would
getting back
never
and
stay
forth.
here. We would never stay here after anything like that went through because of the retaliation thing. I watched the show earlier, or one of them, and it was about a guy afraid of retaliation.
We just found out.
I believe in that.
We just found out that, remember, the CPS worker is best friends with the foster mom that my daughter's with right now.
No, not right now. Where she was in 3 different foster homes. The second foster home she was in, this girl Nancy. There I go again. Sorry.
Come on, honey. You're not supposed to mention names. Come on.
I know. I'm
Don't
sorry.
forget, you did it twice already.
All right, delete beep.
No beep.
This lady, took and filed the report of my daughter, what she had told her, and just so that they couldn't say it was coerced, she got out of the medical transportation car directly into supervised visitation. The lady, 10 minutes after, come out and informed us that the visit is being postponed at the moment because of there was something going on with Jelena, and they had to make a report. So when they made the report,
the lady come back out and she goes, hey girl, she goes, if you want to tell your mom what happened, you can. So my daughter turned to me and she was telling me, she said, I had to report them because they held her down. The stepdad molested her, was touching her. He was all over her bed. They were hitting her and just, but the same night after they didn't report it, they sent it right back to the same place they reported. And that same night they found out that my daughter turned them in and that there were the worker coming. They physically held her down while she's screaming.
Until she passed out. Then they sent her up to the hospital, and then they said that she was crazy. So finally the next day I found out, and I'm like calling the caseworker. I'm like, listen, I said, I don't care if there's an order of protection or not. I'm not going to leave my daughter up there for 2 days by herself. Caseworker says, no, you guys are not allowed up there. And they kept her there for 2 days by herself. She's only like 7 years old. She's used to us being there. I can imagine the pain she's going through. And come to find out, the home that this took place in, the woman, the guy that did it, the woman is friends with the caseworker. So when they get turned in, within hours. It's supposed to be 60 days investigation. It was unfounded. The whole thing within 4 or 5 hours. Oh, no, it's unfounded. And nothing happened there. Now, how? I don't understand.
Hold on. Mr. What
yes. I mentioned this all the time that oftentimes the social workers knows they have family members or friends, like second cousin, third cousins. What they do is they want to make money for the family, and oftentimes also social workers are close friends or close ties with the
Absolutely.
foster homes. Like I'm not talking about just in your state. I'm talking about in every state.
Sure.
Every
Yeah.
state. I kid you not. If you guys recall yesterday when I was talking about the social worker who left the department,
Yep, I was paying attention.
showed me,
So yeah.
yeah, she showed me so much corruption. She's so afraid to be noticed because she's afraid to lose her life. That's how serious the department is.
Yes.
You guys think Nancy, I mean, this is just my opinion. Not, I'm not saying anything other than my opinion. Nancy Schaefer did not die just without a cause. She was the senator for Georgia. They brushed it under the rug, said her husband killed her. Her husband didn't kill her.
Right.
That woman was married for a gazillion years. Okay. It was, I mean, God fearing woman. She exposed the department. She exposed Bill Clinton. She lost her life. So, and she was a senator. She even lost her seat on the Senate. She was
Sure.
the senator for Georgia. You guys need to understand you're not dealing with a normal government. You're not dealing, we make fun of, Americans make fun of other countries, but we are the worst.
Yes.
We are
Yes.
the freaking worst.
Yes.
We shouldn't even look at other countries and criticize them.
No, we have no
because
right to judge. Us
America
as a country, we
is
have
full of
no right
crap.
to judge.
That is correct. And a lot of
And
countries,
I don't agree with anybody judging anybody because
but
in the morning
but
everybody same.
I don't care what. Look, I speak my mind. I don't care what anybody thinks. All right. So
Yep.
all I'm saying is this: America needs to wake up because the American people who pays for the government salary, they need to realize that your people need help. If you're going to be
Yes.
sending money to Ukraine, billions and billions and billions of dollars, and then the county gets billions and billions of dollars for stealing your people's
Your child,
kids,
right?
right?
And,
And then other people's children, and then other people's children. How are you going to have the right generation ahead, right? If you're going to keep destroying these kids and families.
yeah,
To me,
I mean, so far we
right.
have
I mean-
lost everything. We've lost.
I mean, me and my daughter. I mean, if I can show you pictures. I mean, there's
There's another thing me and her were thinking of. I don't mean to cut you off. I want to tell our story like a picture says 1,000 words.
Mhm.
How about 1,000 pictures? What's that say?
I mean, I got pictures, so much pictures of me.
We went back 7 years last night. We was up till 4:30 this morning going through pictures. Not one of them did not. That baby did not have a smile on her face. I mean, we got pictures of us at the field days, the parks, the hotels, I mean, just 7 years worth. And then for them to turn around and say that we're bad parents, and you're not allowed to say anything, to me, I think the caseworker should be reliable for defamation of character, for trying to make me and my wife out to be these bad people that we're not. She's told lies. Both caseworkers lied right on the stand, right along with a New York State trooper.
Actually, that's a good point that you just mentioned. Mr. Davis, can they sue for defamation of characters for these assholes that lie? Social workers?
No.
Hmm.
And they're well, I don't know what they can do in New York, right? But in California, there's something called the litigation privilege.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you're protected by your testimony, but you can't lie. You can sue for, getting on the stand and lying. And, I think you and I were talking about this a couple days ago on the show where you watched a social worker's attorney in front of the Ninth Circuit trying to argue that social workers should be immune even if they come to court and lie. And they basically got laughed out by the 3-judge panel, a very conservative panel, by the way. And, social workers can't come to court and lie. And if they do, they can be sued. as well as criminally prosecuted for perjury. I haven't seen that one happen in 36 years as a lawyer, but um, you know, it should if people can prove that these workers are lying. Because
Well,
I'll tell you what, if you lied while you were in court,
thank you.
they
I
throw you
mean,
Thank you,
under the
Mr.
courthouse.
Davis. Yes.
I mean, even the day the emergency removal, he forgot to tell you, but when we were driving and we finally found our daughter with the caseworker, as soon as I pulled up, we got out of the car. The caseworker looked at him and said, what he called you?
Call me an effing scumbag.
In front of our daughter.
Right, my daughter's standing right next to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, whoa. We don't even act like that in front of my child. I'm not going to let somebody, I don't care who you are. You're not going to do that. And he obviously felt threatened. And, I said a few choice words. I'm not going to say I'm innocent. But at that current time, I was pissed. He called me that in front of my child. What's wrong with you? It's not right. And then we went into court. When we got to the courtroom, the caseworker, the same caseworker that called me an effing scumbag, inside the courthouse. Now, mind you, the courthouse, you're on camera. I don't care where you go. You're on camera, 100%. Calls 911 and felt in fear of his life. Is what he tells them. Because I'm in the lobby. Well, how the hell am I going to get in the courtroom? Had me surrounded, guns out and everything, by about 20 sheriffs right in front of the judge. As the judge is walking by, it was like a big made-up scene. And said that I was threatening him. At that point, I never even seen him. That's an outright lie. How can he do that and get away with it? If I made a false report to a 911, I'd be in trouble. I mean, he does it in the courthouse.
Let me just make a point of what you just said right now. Let me just say this. What you just said, that the judge said that you threatened him or something like that.
Not the judge, the caseworker.
The caseworker, they do that on purpose. I hear that from everybody. By the way, I told you guys before, the Ring cameras. It exposes everything, right?
Yes.
So the social worker, they didn't see the Ring camera. The mother and the father had it hidden in a plant by the door. It was hidden. Mm-hmm. And they were at the door talking. She wrote in the report that the father and the mother cussed her out, threatened to kill her, and pointed a gun at her. Remember that? When the camera showed the social worker entering the home, she was looking all over for cameras. All over. Like, I have my camera on top of my door, right? So, right. But their camera was not on the wall. It was in a plant, hidden. So she didn't see it. This was perfect evidence, like perfect evidence. The father tried to talk to the attorney or the social worker supervisor. They thought they can get away with talking to the social worker supervisor. People don't understand the social worker supervisor is not there to help you. The social worker supervisor is telling the social worker what to do. Now, remember, this is my opinion. Take it or leave it. That's on your own research. However, that's exactly how it operates in the Department of Child Services. Everywhere in Los Angeles County, everywhere in the United States of America, they all train the same way. The same way. Now,
I mean, I even went through the caseworker that came to my house. There was, she put an order of protection between me and him, so the judge went with it. And so, I mean, he had no place to go. I mean, this is his home. We're married, so I'm gonna let him stay here. But for 6 months, I would tell him caseworkers come in and you gotta go, because he had nowhere to go. I'm not gonna just kick my husband out to the streets. She came to my house for 6 months straight, searching the whole room, the house, the closets, upstairs, under the beds.
Every spot in the house. And then saying, well, I know he's here. Oh, I must be invisible. And then, you know, and then spin it out to the judge. Oh, well, she's violating the order of protection. Well, my wife stood in front of the judge and said, Your Honor, I don't need an order of protection. I am not in danger. Why would we have an order of protection? We live together. We're buying a house. We're not renting. We're buying a house. I mean, we're a family until this tornado of CPS come through. And they have done everything. And I don't know if anybody's watching, but last time we were on, did I not speak of how I nicked my finger with my pocket knife and she wrote it up as I was cutting myself profusely? Remember?
Wow. I remember.
This is my pocket knife. The same exact knife. This was from my grandfather. Yes, I carry it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sharpening it at 9:30 in the morning. And she twisted that around in front of the judge and made me look like a psychopath.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, this should be 100% defamation character. I am not that person. I don't cut myself. I get cut enough at work, or I'm a guy. I smash my fingers constantly. I just, for her to be able to do that,
they do this. And that's what I was trying to tell you. They do this with everybody. However, the judges are not the one. Now, remember, like I said, this is my opinion. I feel like I have to keep saying that. The judges are the ones wearing the black robes and sitting on the damn bench. However,
they're not in power.
These stupid idiots,
they
believe everything the social workers recommends.
100%. They're already right.
Workers are the ones who are making the freaking decision, not the judge. So I feel, as a citizen, as an American, I feel that the social workers should walk around with black robes, and the judges, whether they're men or women, should wear a skirt and sit on the bench and eat bonbons. That's just
well, I mean, and you're not too far off there at all. My court-appointed attorney, Puppet, had a CPS badge. Like, she worked right for CPS. And I asked her, I said, well, don't you want to sit down and go over what the allegations were made against me and my wife? Oh, no, I read the report. I know what it is. Oh, you know. So 100% right there. She don't even want to listen to me at all. She talked to this day. She has talked more to the bailiff than she has me. Mm-hmm. And she's my lawyer, and maybe that's her boyfriend or husband or something, the bailiff. I don't know. But I don't understand. And how can you have a trial with all these people against you and you can't have witnesses?
Wait, not to interrupt you, but you guys complain a lot. All of us. However, wait, let me finish. Most of you guys did not vote. Most of you guys that I've been talking to for the last week and a half did not vote and don't want to vote. And you guys think your vote is not going to make a difference. Well, that's bullshit. If you keep saying your vote is not going to make a difference, then there's no difference that's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. If you guys keep complaining and not voting, well, shame on you. I'm being serious.
As far as going to the legislature meetings.
No, guys, you don't understand. These people get reelected. They get reelected. If you don't vote them out, you're not going to have a positive result at all. Because we are the people. We are paying their salary. We have to vote. You guys, are you going to keep just complaining? I mean, it took me, Mr. Davis, it was a work day. It took me, I don't know how many hours to vote. I don't know, 3 hours. And I came to a point where, like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. I asked Davis to help me on the rest, on the judges. I mean, it was kind of like texting me, okay, what should I do? But what I'm saying is I did my research on most of them. But the ones I didn't really understand too much about them, I asked Davis to help me. But I did vote. I did.
Hold on, you guys. Hold on. We're at the 30-minute mark, and I want to play something. It's a YouTube short that I made regarding children testifying. So let's just play this, take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about voting. So stand by.
What
Okay, the topic of minors testifying in CPS cases is always an important topic. These are the things that you must consider. Number one, is the minor competent? In order to testify in California, the minor has to reach a certain level of competency, usually in the ability to tell the truth and to discern truth from falsity or truth from, for example, daydreams or night dreams. Sometimes I've had minors testify that say, oh, they dreamt something, and that's maybe not going to allow them to be competent to testify in a trial or in a hearing. The other thing they have to do is they have to be able to understand the difference and the consequences in taking the oath, the promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You'd be surprised a lot of minors don't understand that particular consequence. So call me if you have questions. So you have a hearing pursuant to 366.26 in California to terminate your parental rights. There's probably a similar statute in your state as well, where they have proceedings to terminate your parental rights if you have a CPS case. It's important to start planning for the defense of that type of hearing at the very beginning of the case, even when you still have reunification services or you have the chance to get the child or the children back in your custody. One of the things that you should do early on in the case, and at least after your rights of your parental reunification services have been terminated, is ask for a bonding study. Ask the court to get a bonding study between you and your children. Now, to make sure that you do well in that bonding study, you need to visit the children a lot of time while they're out of your care and custody so that there will be a bond. Call me if you have any questions. Okay, here's a tip for the jurisdictional hearing, which is generally the second and or the third hearing in a CPS case here in California. At the jurisdictional hearing, the judge must decide if the allegations the social worker has charged you with are true or partially true. If they're not true, the case is thrown out. If they are true, you proceed immediately, in most cases, to the dispositional hearing. Sometimes the jurisdictional and dispositional hearing are done together. But here's the tip. The important tip is before you go to court, maybe a week, 10 days, sit down with your lawyer on the phone, on a Zoom, in person. Come up with a strategy for the jurisdictional hearing. You might want to discuss witnesses that need to be called. You might want to discuss documentary evidence that needs to be subpoenaed. Sit down with your lawyer and make sure that he or she is ready with you for this important jurisdictional hearing.
Right, but we have to get to that lawyer, the appellate division, to be able to sit down and even talk to him.
Well, you know, when you sit down, that doesn't mean that it has to be face to face. Preferable that it will be face to face, but you can do it on the phone, via text, via email, that type of thing. Okay.
Right.
Now, we were talking about voting, and Georgette was talking about what makes this a very interesting show at a certain level are the comments and stories by the different parents who come in and share how they've been victimized by CPS. One of the things that I say, and Georgette and I have talked about this, is now that we have complained, all right, that we were victimized and screwed in the case, what are you going to do about it?
I told him I'm gonna keep fighting him to the end. I mean, I know we didn't do nothing. Excuse me, we didn't do nothing wrong. So I'm just
when you say keep fighting, what do you mean?
Like, I'm not gonna give up on my daughter. I'm just gonna go appeal it. I mean, to the last breath. I mean, someone, I don't know, just.
We went to the legislator meeting, and Michelle spoke there for, they said 5 minutes, but I think you went to more like 8. But, and that was to get them to do something about the county here because, I mean, our own county is under investigation because of stuff they're doing wrong. I mean, a kid just died and they never even, they failed to take the kid out. But here they're pulling my kid out for no reason. That kid, they should have had out of the house. He was all the way down. He was
Okay, Rob, hold on a second. We spent 30 minutes today on our story being victims.
right.
We spent 45 minutes on it a few days ago. Now, tell me, what are you going to do about it? Because you keep.
I don't know what we could do. I mean, it's honest to God. That's God's honest truth. I don't know what I could do.
Georgette told you.
Voting, I can't vote.
What do you mean you can't vote?
I'm a felon.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm not voting. Them rights are gone. I'm not, honey.
Well, guess what? The Democrats are allowing people who have no papers to vote. That's why they're bringing in the border. I mean, come on, let's be real. That's bullshit, and you know it.
Right. No, I don't agree
No,
with
no, no,
opening
no,
the border.
I'm being honest. I'm being
do.
honest. Look. All I'm saying is this: you need to vote. All of
Rob,
us.
Yes, it's very important.
Rob, let me pose something. Let me pose. Just
You
listen
think
to
that
me.
it's all one?
babe.
It's already made up.
Rob, I want to pose something to you, okay?
Yep.
You would agree that in your state the CPS laws are skewed against the parents, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, if I gave you $100 million to help change the law, would you do something?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah, right? Yeah, I would.
Absolutely.
Okay, but here's the question. Here's the thing. Why do I have to give you $100 million?
Oh, yeah.
Well, because you got to get your money in the right pocket for them people to even listen to you.
But why don't you go out and start organizing? Why don't you join
Well,
Georgette? You know, people in your state can change laws. Oh, what's that?
This is a group we're in up here.
Okay.
Are they voting, honey? Is that group vote?
Yes.
Does it vote?
No,
Okay.
they all these people, yeah, they vote. All of them vote, but it's just a group.
This is a personal group that's on Facebook.
Okay, you need to be careful with groups on Facebook. I think I told you this a million gazillion times on my shows. Oh, dear Jesus. The groups on some of the groups on Facebook are social workers. They take your information. They say, who's your social worker, what county you're in, etc. Give me the name, blah, 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 blah. All of the sudden, you get your social worker fucking calling you or texting you, telling you, bring your social media down. You're like, well, wait a minute. I didn't use my real name. I used a different name. I used BB 25, 27, 31.
And I'm
Watson. How did she know? Because they fucking deceive you to tell you that they are there for you.
I believe that because
Believe this shit, and they tell you they can help you in your case. That is bullshit. And I told you guys a million times, don't fucking believe the hype that you hear or see. These social media groups are not to be trusted. I don't give a shit. Last time I got shoot out by somebody that was watching the show and said, Miss G, don't put that in people's head, because she was also one of them. So,
yeah, I believe that because the caseworker, every time I was on my phone, and like she knew every call I did, every person I talked to, she knew every time I was with him. I mean, she's the one who went into court. Well, Michelle's got a group she's in, and they talk about, I mean, everything we talked about, our story. The judge told us to take it down. We did GoFundMe. I mean, she was on top of everything I was doing. Like there was a bug.
there was a lady that told one of the social media groups, there's so many of them. I follow most of them, but I found out they're social workers, so I removed myself from them. Okay. So what happened is that they tell people that we can help you, etc., etc. Now they know your social media page, right? Now, wait, there's more. But they also send people to follow you. They send random people get in their cars in front of your homes, and I kid you not, they stalk you and they push your button to lose your mind. Meaning they want to see you react, and they carry a camera, a video camera, and they record you. And I kid you not, this shit happens all the time. This is where our tax dollars is going, and the state is so used to the gigantic money that's coming in that keeps floating, so much, they don't want to do anything about it. That's why the state allows the social workers to run the show. When the social worker tells you, when the fucking social worker says, I am untouchable, that's exactly, but fucking believe them. Believe them. Because the judges are cowards. Judges, CPS judges are cowards. And again, this is my freaking opinion. They are cowards.
Yep.
They have no backbone.
Nope.
They're sissies, no balls. Let other people run the show while they're wearing the black robe.
And that's
So
what
they're
I said.
useless. They're useless. They are fucking useless, and the state is higher than the fucking family
Yes.
court. Well,
That's
guess
what I
what?
said. I said
They're
the judge
higher
works for
courts.
CPS.
Right. They're higher courts. They take custody from you and from family law. This is bullshit. And yet they're stealing children, transporting children to be sex trafficked. All this
Exactly.
bullshit. Social workers telling teenagers have sex. They're telling mothers, if you want to see the kids, prostitute your body. This is bullshit. Where is the federal fucking government? Where is the fucking higher up? Stop this madness shit. They're not doing anything about it. So when Davis did that documentary, with somebody, he said you have more rights as a criminal than you do as a parent. I heard that it didn't make sense right away, but it does. You have more rights as a fucking criminal than you do as a fucking parent. So
What was I talking about that last night?
we have children, what? To feed them to the government. We have children to say, hey, here you go. Here's my kids. I labored 9.
I said here in New York, when I
It's everywhere, by the way.
I did some time in I could have filed paperwork
Mm-hmm.
and had my ex bring me my son for a visitation. Now, me being in prison, I would have got to see my son. I mean, she brought him anyway. But my whole point is this, is that we're not in prison and we can't see our child at all. And
I mean, it got to a point where me and
if she
my
was in prison, you could file paperwork and they would make them bring you to your child. But now it
just got to a point where me and my daughter, I mean, and I know you guys got kids too, you might, but me and my daughter had a bond. Like, we everywhere she went, I mean, it was our first babysitter ever. Me and my daughter was always together, everything, pictures. I mean, and now we were visiting each other 3 times a week. Then it was 2 times a week. Then it was once a week, and then got to one phone call for 1 hour. It just my daughter got tired of it. And she's like, to a point where the caseworker came and says, "Well, your daughter don't want to see you. She's refusing. She's throwing a fit." Well, of course, if I was a kid and I went through all this, I'm sick of going back and forth. I'm just tired of getting hurt. I'm just gonna stop getting hurt.
Where I am, and I'll, should be all right there. And it's not right. And I get it, voting. I understand all that.
I know it's hard. Listen, I muted myself. I couldn't talk, but it's hard. I understand what you're going through, but right now you need to.
What?
Davis, I think he mentioned something about. I can't remember, Attorney Davis, something about writing to Washington. Was it Washington State?
No, Washington, D.C.
Washington.
You can file a complaint on any CPS case with the feds through the Department of Health and Human Services. They control all CPS money. They write all regulations that all the states have to follow in order to get federal funding. And they do have a complaint process where they will assign very well-known therapists, psychologists, social workers to your case to sometimes do a thorough review. So consider that. and I think I
Well,
don't know if I mentioned this to you
I
last
didn't
time.
know nothing about that. I
Yeah.
never. I mean, it
So
is.
you should consider that. And the other thing that you can do, and sometimes these two investigations are merged, is you can file a complaint with the United States Department of Justice
Mm-hmm.
Civil Rights Division in
Mm-hmm.
your district. So I don't know what district you live
Could you
in New
please
York.
repeat that?
Yeah, the United States Department of Justice
Mm-hmm.
Civil Rights Division.
Okay.
Okay.
But you need to make the complaint make sense, guys. Make it
When you,
make sense. I have a lot of people who wrote a complaint and they wanted me to look it over. And I kid you not, on Sunday I looked over two of them. It sounded like a 5-year-old wrote it. I mean, make sense, you guys. You have to
right.
speak. You have to put your words on paper right properly so they can understand what the complaint is about. I couldn't
Now,
understand what it was about.
my son back then, he's old now. He lives on his own. Back then he was like 13, 14. He was taking Adderall because he had ADHD,
Mhm.
and they were giving him 30 milligrams. So one day he just started crying before he went to school, and he's like, "Mom, I don't want to take it. It's making my heart race. I feel like my heart's gonna stop." He was crying tears, so I finally took him off of it. Well, my daughter's only 9 years old. She just turned 9 this year. They got her
So she
on.
was 8.
They
She
got
had it
her.
for a year.
Yeah, they got her on 30. What is it? 30.
30 milligrams
There's
of
of
Adderall.
Adderall. I mean,
She's
like I got
tiny.
videos of her just.
Not
She
even.
can't even
She's
focus.
not even
It's
the
just.
same child. It's not. It's not. It's not our child. I know what my child looks like, and I know what she does. I had her for 7 years. I mean, I can tell you every little nick and cranny about her. That is not my kid. That is a kid that is under the influence and does what it's told. So I feel that they're drugging my child, kind of like weaning somebody off from an addiction or something. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right. They medicate the children to keep them silent. People don't understand.
Yes.
Everybody makes money. The pharmaceutical companies make money.
Everybody's
Everybody makes
probably
money. I'm going to tell you a true story, just real quick. Attorney Davis literally kind of what saved my life. So what happened was I'm diabetic. I depend on insulin
Okay.
and metformin. And then Mr. Davis gave me a special idea, kind of like eat this, don't do this, don't do this, do that, do that. Right now, I don't have to do the insulin anymore.
Nice.
Right? So you have to understand that if don't put your mind into something, you're going to not make it and depend on the medication, right? They want you silent to depend on the medication. So that way you're numbed, you're in the dark. The enemy always wants you in the dark. Why do they want you in the dark? Why do the enemy
Yeah.
want you in the dark?
Once
Because
she's
they
on the
want you
medicine and
silent.
addicted,
They don't want her to speak. They don't want her to speak. That's what
Yeah.
medication does to you.
exactly.
Medication kills you in a way slowly, by the way.
Right.
Medication kills you slowly.
We as parents
Hold on a
told the
second.
caseworker.
Hold on a second, Rob.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just want to let you know, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. Rob and Michelle, I want to thank you for being guests again.
Yeah, I had a quick question before the thing goes. We put up a Facebook account. A GoFundMe account. Do you think we should put it back up?
I mean, that's a difficult question. I don't know what the court orders are in your case. Now, I will say this. I have heard people from all over the country tell me that they put up a GoFundMe account and either the judge or the social worker made them take it down. And the First Amendment is very strong in my mind, and it depends on what you say. You can't mention any names or anything in there, but if you don't mention any names, break any confidences, I think that's probably your First Amendment right, and you should probably talk to, a lawyer about that. I don't think that an order just blanketing saying you can't put up a GoFundMe account would be legal under the First Amendment. I don't know. I'd have to look at the facts and circumstances of each case. So I can't tell you put it up. I mean, there might be a court order that says you can't have a GoFundMe account. And if you didn't file a writ or an appeal on that order when it's made, it's binding on you. Okay? So, there's something that you could do. You can collaterally attack the order by way of a federal lawsuit or civil rights lawsuit, but that's a whole nother topic for another day.
Okay,
So
before you go, Attorney Davis, please, I need you to post Paulo Velasquez uh, comment, the one that he wrote down on 7:47 p.m. above. There is a CC judge in LA that has a sex tape. I want you to post that for a second because that is true.
Okay.
Very true.
Anyway.
You don't want to post it? I'm asking you nicely to post it.
No, I'm trying to end the show because we're 5 minutes over already.
Okay, fine. Well, anyway, Paulo, mention it tomorrow, please, when you're on the show again.
Rob and Michelle, thank you very much. I certainly appreciate you being here.
Bye,
And
Robert.
if you want to come again, please let Grace know and let Miss G know. Miss G, it's always a pleasure. You being
Whatever.
a very vocal co-host. Hey, Michelle, the attitude don't you just love it? Hey, Rob, I do have to go. Okay. All right. We'll see you guys later. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, baby.